There's a root vegetable that almost nobody grows anymore. It was once planted in kitchen gardens across parts of America. You could leave it in the ground, come back the following year, and it would still be there. But here's the strange part. People who grew it described the flavor as something like an apple mixed with a spoonful of honey, and somehow we almost completely forgot it existed. Its name is skirret. And the reason this plant disappeared is more interesting than the plant itself. Because skirret isn't just an unusual old vegetable, it's a glimpse into a completely different way of thinking about food. A way where a garden wasn't just something you planted every spring, it was something you built. You planted something once. You saved what it gave you. You divided the roots, and the following year, the same plant came back. No new packet, no annual restart, no complicated system, just a root sitting quietly beneath the soil, waiting for you. So stay with me, because I'm going to show you what skirret was, why people valued it, why it disappeared from ordinary gardens, and why this strange little root is starting to look surprisingly relevant again. And the best part is the simplest. You don't have to imagine what it tasted like. You can still grow it. Skirret is a perennial root vegetable. Its scientific name is Sium scissorum. And unlike the vegetables most of us grow today, skirret doesn't have to disappear at the end of the season. You plant it. It establishes itself, and underground, it produces clusters of edible roots. When autumn comes, you can dig them up. That alone makes it unusual. But the flavor is what makes the story memorable. The old description is almost impossible to forget. Apple and honey. Think about that for a second. A root pulled out of ordinary garden soil, not a tropical fruit, not a dessert, a root. And yet it was valued for its sweetness. The Pennsylvania Dutch grew skirret in their kitchen gardens, and they described it as a plant that could be used to sweeten simple foods such as porridge. That tells you something about the world it came from. Sugar wasn't simply something you reached for whenever you wanted it. Sweetness had value. And a plant that could provide it from your own garden was useful, very useful. But there's another reason skirret mattered. It was perennial, and that changes the economics of a garden. Most of the vegetables you buy as seed today come with an annual rhythm. You buy, you plant, you harvest, and next year you buy again. Skirret works differently. Once established, it can remain in the garden. You can harvest the roots, and you can keep part of the plant going. The plant becomes part of the garden instead of something you completely replace every spring. And here's where the story gets interesting. Because that same characteristic that made skirret useful to a gardener may also help explain why it became so uncommon. So here's the obvious question. If skirret was useful, if it was perennial, if people liked the flavor, not to mention its nutritional value, well, why don't you see it everywhere? Why isn't it sitting next to carrots and parsnips in every garden center? Why does saying the word skirret today often produce a blank stare? The answer presented in the historical record is surprisingly simple. Skirret stopped being commercially important. Old seed catalogs carried it. Then, eventually, they didn't. Now think about the business logic. If a gardener buys a plant once and then keeps propagating it, there isn't much reason for that gardener to buy the same thing again every year. That doesn't mean someone secretly banned skirret. It doesn't mean there was a grand conspiracy. It means something much quieter happened. People stopped planting it. Seed catalogs stopped giving it attention. Gardeners stopped asking for it. And eventually, an entire generation grew up without knowing its name. That's how knowledge disappears, not always with a law. Sometimes it simply stops being passed on. Now, let's get practical. Or do you need another reason to be convinced by this amazing plant? Here it is. The root contains naturally occurring sugars, along with minerals and pectin. Pectin is a prebiotic and has a healthy effect on your gut. And interestingly, historical nutritional analysis found that the young shoots contain more vitamins than the roots themselves. So you're not looking at a plant that was simply used because it tasted good. It had nutritional value too. Researchers have also identified naturally occurring plant compounds in Sium scissorum, including phenolic compounds such as chlorogenic acid and isoquercetin. These compounds have antioxidant activity. So if you're watching this and thinking, fine, but can I actually grow this thing? The answer is yes. The basic attraction of skirret is precisely how ordinary it is. You don't need some futuristic hydroponic system. You need a garden bed and genuine skirret planting material. Give it ordinary garden soil, give it a place where you can leave it for more than one season, and let it establish. The important thing to understand is that you're not treating it like lettuce. You're building a perennial patch, Once the plants are established, you can harvest the roots when they're ready. And when you want to keep the patch going, you don't have to destroy everything. Leave enough plant material to continue growing. That's the fundamental idea. Harvest some. Keep some. The exact timing and method will depend on your growing conditions, so this is one of those plants where local growing advice matters. But the principle is beautifully simple. You aren't trying to force the plant to do something unnatural. You're taking advantage of what it already wants to do. And that's what makes old perennial vegetables so interesting. They work with time. Now here's the part nobody tells you about forgotten vegetables. The most valuable thing about them isn't necessarily how much food they produce. It's the relationship they create with the garden. An annual crop says, come back next year and start again. A perennial says, I'm still here. That's a completely different relationship. And Scarrett takes that idea even further, because the plant itself can become something you inherit. You establish it. Someone else can maintain it. A child can grow up knowing where it is, and years later, the same patch may still be there. That's not just food, that's continuity. Now let's be honest, Scarrett is not going to replace your entire vegetable garden. It isn't a miracle crop. And it isn't going to make supermarkets unnecessary. The roots can be small and fiddly to prepare. The plant is obscure for a reason. It never became a major modern commercial crop. And if you decide to grow it, you need to make sure you're actually getting correctly identified Scarrett from a reliable source. That's important with any unusual edible plant. Don't assume that a wild plant is safe, simply because it looks similar. Grow the real thing, know what you've planted, and follow reliable local guidance for cultivation and preparation. The point isn't that Scarrett solves everything. The point is that we forgot something that was useful. And this is the part that keeps bothering me. Somewhere along the way, we became very good at remembering the things that are profitable, and very bad at remembering the things that are simply useful. Scarrett didn't need to become a billion-dollar industry. It didn't need a subscription. It didn't need an annual refill. It just needed someone to plant it, and someone else to remember what it was. That's enough. Because knowledge like this doesn't disappear all at once. It disappears one garden at a time, one old seed catalog at a time, one generation at a time, until somebody finds the name again. And suddenly the forgotten thing is rediscovered. So maybe that's the real story of Scarrett. Not that it is some magical vegetable that will change your life, but that it survived long enough for us to find it again. A root that can stay in the ground, a plant that can come back, a food once grown in ordinary kitchen gardens, and a flavor people remembered as an apple with honey. Imagine that. For generations, somebody knew exactly where that plant was. They knew when to dig it. They knew what it tasted like. They knew how to keep it growing. Then the knowledge faded, but the plant didn't forget. It was still waiting in the ground. And maybe that's the lesson. Sometimes old knowledge isn't gone. It's just waiting for somebody to plant it again. If you've ever heard of Scarrett before, tell me where you first encountered it. And if you haven't, well, now you know its name. Scarrett, one of the forgotten roots that almost disappeared from the American garden, and perhaps one of the strangest ones to come back.